Welcome, listeners. This is Ivan Franklin Rose, and this is the one about how to help the people you love if they are depressed. So in an article in livehappy.com by Sandra Bilbray, who's a contributing editor, she talks about 7 ways to help someone you love who is depressed. She says, ask questions, listen, and be present, but don't try to take on their pain. You probably know someone who is unhappy or struggles with anxiety or depression. When someone close to you, a spouse, family member, or best friend, is suffering, it can be painful. You want to help, but you may not know how to. Maintaining your own happiness can become a challenge as well. We turn to the experts for advice on how to navigate this difficult emotional terrain. First, identify if the problem is clinical and requires professional treatment or situational, like job loss, divorce, loss of a parent, etc., and if it's short or long term. In all circumstances, experts advise not to take ownership of the problem by saying, I know how you feel. Instead, you might say that you cannot fully understand their pain because they are the ones experiencing it. Let a loved one know you are there for them, that you care, and that he or she is important to you. Offer empathetic words such as, I am sorry you are suffering. If you think your loved one needs professional help, recognize that you can only offer the support of your presence and assure them repeatedly that you are there for them. Suggest that the person talk to a professional. Although the situation is painful for you, sometimes people don't want to get better or cannot be helped, and acceptance may be your only choice. If the unhappiness is situational and short-term, you can be there for them and reassure them that this may be enough. Most people do not want to be unhappy and will mourn and move on. They will actively seek to help themselves by talking, exercising, and finding other things to focus on. Make suggestions you think might help, or just offer support to ride out the pain with them. So number 1 is be present. If you determine the cause is short-term or your loved one can be helped, give the gift of your time and presence, listening, supporting, and being there. If it's a spouse, gently probe, advises Pat Pearson, and he's a clinical psychotherapist and author of Stop Self-Sabotage. I notice you don't quite seem yourself lately, you could say. Has anything happened to upset you? And then offer supportive words, I love you, I'm here, and I care. Please tell me. Men tend to go inward and protect their spouse from pain in their life and shut down rather than to say I hurt or my friend died or I'm upset about myself or finances. Pat explains, but she also recommends a help-first approach. So let's go after repeated attempts at listening, and then you can announce that you're letting go so they don't feel abandoned and that you'll re-engage with them when they start opening up again. So this is the advice she gives. Number 2 is listen. If you can facilitate a conversation, let the other person have the floor. Many times depression is anger turned inward. Let your loved one get those feelings out. Help them get the feelings out that will help, and that will help tremendously, Pat says. Realize unhappiness can lead to positive change is next. Suffering, as hard as it is to witness, can lead to growth. Sometimes people have to hit bottom to begin to rise. Vent to friends is next. It is difficult to feel powerless in the face of a loved one's unhappiness. Go about your life and reach out to other friends, Pat recommends. Don't be a martyr. Express your frustration, anger, and concern. That expression keeps your feelings flowing. And number 5 is set boundaries. Although your intentions may be noble, emotional enmeshment, which is where two people feel the other's emotion, where you take on the other person's emotion as if it's happening to you, that isn't healthy. You have to claim responsibility for the happiness you can create, says Pat. That happiness is inside you. You can invite others to be happy, but it's up to them if they accept it. That's the boundary between personal responsibility and overgiving. Protect yourself is number 6. Realize that everyone is ultimately responsible for their own happiness, and no matter how much you love someone, you are never responsible for someone else's emotions. If you determine someone you love is not willing or able to move on, realize the situation can be damaging to you, and take steps to protect yourself. You don't have to take a loved one's problems on as your own. Give yourself space to protect your own mental health, and don't become immersed in your loved one's unhappy feeling. Don't neglect your own happiness. Working on your own happiness isn't selfish, even when someone you love is unhappy. Your happiness shows others what is possible. Expressing your joy can result in emotional contagion, where your happiness begins to rub off on those around you. No one wants to see someone they love suffer, and we have a natural inclination to want to help. If someone you love doesn't bounce back after a loss or difficult time and only seems to get worse, try to keep listening and stay positive while encouraging them to seek professional help. Give yourself permission to be happy and realize your happiness can encourage others to find their own. And those were Sandra's 7 ways to help someone that you love when they're depressed. Now, an article in Very Well Mind by Nancy Schmelfening, who is the administrator for a nonprofit depression support group called Depression Sanctuary, talked about what to do when a friend is depressed, how you can help them. So we're dealing with friends now. And the first thing she recommends is tell them you care. These 2 simple words, I care, can mean so much to a person who may be feeling like the entire world is against them. A hug or a gentle touch of the hand can even get this message across. The important thing is to reach out and let the person know that they matter to you. While you may feel awkward and unsure at first, know that whatever you say doesn't have to be profound or poetic. It should simply be something that comes from a place of compassion and acceptance. Next, remind them that you're there for them. Depression can feel as though no one understands what you're feeling or even cares enough to try to understand, which can be isolating and overwhelming. Research has shown that people tend to withdraw when they are depressed, so reaching out to a friend in need is an important first step. If your friend isn't ready to talk, continue to offer your support by spending time with them and try to check in regularly, either in person or on the phone or by text. When you reach out to a friend, letting them know that you are going to be there every step of the way can be very reassuring to them. You may not quite know what this will look like at first, but know that just reminding your friend that you are someone they can lean on can mean the world. Next, remind them that they matter. A common feeling among those who are depressed is that their lives don't matter and no one would even care if they were gone. If you can sincerely tell your friend about all the ways that they matter to you and others, this can help them realize that they have value and worth. Letting them know that they are an important person in your life can mean a lot when someone is struggling with feelings of depression and worthlessness. Tell them you understand if you really do. Before you tell someone I understand, you should be certain that you actually do. Have you ever experienced clinically significant depression? If you have, it may be helpful for your friend to hear that you've experienced that and what they are feeling, and that it can get better. But keep in mind, however, there are several different types of depression. Even though you did experience a clinical depression once, it may have been a very different type of depression than what your friend is going through. So if what you have been through was a case of the blues, on the other hand, your friend may feel like you are trivializing their experience by comparing it to yours. In this case, it would be best to simply admit that you don't understand exactly what they are going through, but that you care about them and want to try. Often the best words to say are, I don't understand, but I really want to. Also, next, it's good to remind them that it's okay to feel the way they feel. Even if your friend's problems may seem minor to you, resist the urge to judge or come up with simple solutions. The biochemical imbalances associated with depression are what is driving how bad your friend feels about certain situations, not necessarily the situations themselves. Instead, let them know that you are sorry that they are feeling so badly and adopt an attitude of acceptance that this is how their depression is affecting them. If your friend only recently started taking medications or attending counseling, it can be the time for them. It can take time for them to feel better. Just as an antibiotic for strep throat takes a while to work, antidepressants can take some time to change chemicals in the brain, sometimes upwards of 8 weeks or longer. During this time, what your friend needs most is not references to fast, easy solutions, but an awareness that you will be by their side through their treatment. Assure them that they are not weak or defective. Those that are coping with depression tend to feel weak or that there's something wrong with them. While depression is an illness, those who live with it may feel that it's a character flaw. Reassure your friend that depression really is an illness caused by a biochemical imbalance in the brain, and that it does not mean they are weak. In fact, it takes a great deal of strength to fight back, so they are probably much stronger than they think they are. So to recap, depression is a common mental health condition that can affect anyone. Let your loved one know that these feelings are not their fault and remind them how strong, resilient, and capable they are. Next, emphasize that there's hope. While you are reassuring your friend that they have a real illness, you can also reassure them there is hope. Because like any other medical illness, depression is treatable. Through the use of medications and therapy, your friend has a very good chance of returning to normal again. They can get help through online therapy programs like Talkspace, BetterHelp, and Regain. Find out which option is best for them. When good intentions go wrong is the last part they want to cover. Here, in this part. It's possible that you can say all the right things and your friend will still become upset with you. Every person is an individual with unique thoughts and feelings, and being angry and upset is the nature of depression. Sometimes people will lash out at those trying to help because they are hurting and don't know where to direct those bad feelings. Whoever is nearby becomes a convenient target. If this happens, try not to take it personally. Stay calm and continue to do what you can to love and support your friend in whatever way they will allow. Now, Nancy also wrote an article in Very Well Mind about 10 tips in helping your partner if your partner has depression. It was medically reviewed by Amy Morin, who is a psychotherapist, best-selling author, including the book Secret of Becoming Mentally Strong and the book 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do. And so this is what Nancy says in this regard. If you are in a relationship with someone who has depression, you are likely struggling with a mix of emotions and a lot of questions. For instance, you might wonder, what does depression feel like for my partner? What can I do to help support them? How can I take care of myself? Will their symptoms impact our relationship, and if so, how can we navigate any issues together? All of these questions are normal, and it's understandable that you would want to support your loved one to the best of your ability. While your questions are valid, it is also important to understand that every person's experience with depression is unique. So here are a few things you can do to help your loved one and yourself. Number one, learn more about depression. You can support your loved one by learning everything you can about depression, including its causes, symptoms, and treatments. Ask your partner's doctor for some resources that provide the facts about depression, or you can do your own search. Start with these reputable sources. Anxiety and Depression Association of America, Depression and Bipolar Support Alliance, Mental Health America, National Alliance on Mental Illness, and the National Institution of Mental Health. Understand what depression really means. There are many myths about depression. For example, depression is not just simply the result of laziness or weakness. Your partner's pain may not just be in their head. Depression doesn't need a reason. If you are unfamiliar with depression, challenge preconceived thoughts, ideas, and stigma by educating yourself. So I'd like to give an idea, this thought that depression doesn't need a reason. I'm going to interject over here before I come back to these 10 tips and talk about this fact about depression not needing a reason. So depression can have many causes, all of which are complex and can be difficult to understand. In some cases, feelings of depression can be clearly connected to an experience in someone's life, such as a tragic loss or a violent event. Other people may be aware that they have a family history of mental illness, and as a result may not be caught off guard by a diagnosis of depression. However, some people become depressed and don't know why. They may feel they don't have a reason to be depressed, especially if they perceive their life as being good or easy compared to others. The pressure to explain or justify how they feel can make depression worse and may prevent them from getting the necessary treatment. If you're wondering, why am I depressed, and have no real answers, it's helpful to know some potential causes of depression. We also share treatment options so you can start to feel better again. You can also refer to my podcast I've done on the 11 different types of depression. Okay. Now, the lived experience of depression is good to understand. A person who is in good physical health, employed, and has a safe home to live in, enough money to care for themselves and their family, has supportive friends and hobbies, may struggle to comprehend why they feel persistently sad, angry, or irritable. In the absence of a clear trigger, such as the death of a loved one, a divorce, or the loss of a job, they could feel that it doesn't make sense for them to feel depressed. This leaves them to wonder, why am I depressed, without giving them any real answer. Perception of depression. The presence of these things in their lives might make someone feel that they have no right to be unhappy. If a person's family doesn't have a history of depression, they may assume that they couldn't be genetically prone themselves. Likewise, a person may look back at their childhood and become confused and concerned if they don't find a specific event that would justify the depression they are experiencing as an adult. When they realize the people around them have not experienced depression, a person can feel very alone. They may start to worry that others will think they don't appreciate what they have if they appear sad or down. They might also worry about being a burden to others or being seen as a liability. People with depression may be concerned about speaking up in fear of what might change at school or work, as well as in their relationships. There's a concern about the stigma. They may worry that their boss won't think of them as capable of doing their job if they know that they have depression. When young people in school are depressed, they may be wrongly labeled slackers or told that they are not trying hard enough. When a person with depression internalizes these messages, they may come to believe that they aren't smart or capable, and depression has a way of reinforcing those false beliefs by making someone have a low opinion of themselves. In relationships, people with depression may not talk about their experiences because they are afraid others won't understand. They may worry that their spouse, family, and friends will stop loving them. They might fear that people they care about will blame them or the feelings they have. They could also be worried that their loved ones will blame themselves if they are unable to help, which can make a person who is depressed feel guilty or like a burden. There's other reasons that people hide what they're feeling. Parents who are experiencing depression may worry about how their children or family could be affected. They might even fear that they'll be seen as unfit parents if they have to admit feelings of depression. The pressure to justify depression can be overwhelming. But remember the old saying that you can't judge a book by its cover. The way someone else's life appears to be may not show the whole truth. People who are depressed may work very hard to try to hide how they really feel. On the outside, they can look and even act as if they feel okay and everything is fine. Whether you're experiencing depression yourself or you care about someone who is, it can be helpful to reframe how you think about the condition. Start by focusing on the causes of depression, which are backed by facts, rather than focusing on reasons, which are subjective and relative. The importance of focusing on depression causes, not reasons. Researchers are still learning about the different mechanisms that drive depression. There are many causes, and in most cases, it's a combination of factors that ultimately cause a person to become more depressed. Some common causes are brain chemistry. The chemistry of depression is not well understood, but researchers do know that an imbalance of brain chemicals called neurotransmitters can happen in anyone, even in the absence of obvious triggers. Serotonin is one of those chemicals in the brain that could be lacking. And there are other ways to build up serotonin. I'll do a podcast on nutrition soon where I'll show things you could take that would help that. Next is non-modifiable risk factors can cause depression. Some influences such as brain structure, genetic predisposition, environmental exposures are not something a person can control. And modifiable risk factors. A risk factor that falls under the category of lifestyle choices are considered modifiable, but the extent to which an individual can do so will depend on their ability and how much support they have. Depression can make it much more challenging to address factors that might be contributing to it, such as substance use or diet. As much as it is a mental illness, depression can also be physical. Symptoms like chronic pain and fatigue can make it difficult for people to take on a lifestyle modification, such as exercise, even if they want to, and difficult for them to believe that it could help. To make these changes and stick to them, people need to have the right tools and a good deal of support. To get treatment, a person with depression needs to feel safe talking about how they are feeling. A person who believes they are depressed for no reason may not feel they deserve to ask for or get help. That's why it's important to focus less on the reason for depression and instead to think about the causes. Perceptions can affect treatment and outcomes. Looking at the causes helps people, both those with depression and those who want to support them, understanding that being depressed is a medical condition, not a choice. Depression can be and needs to be and deserves to be treated. However, there are many ways to treat the condition. What works for one person may not work for another, and some people may have to try many different options before finding something effective. It's also not unusual for people to need to try different treatments throughout their lives to manage depression, as the condition can change and evolve in response to changes in a person's life, both physically and emotionally. If you are depressed and don't understand why, you may recognize that you need help and may want it, but might also be struggling with the feeling that you don't have the right to ask for help. Know this: every person with depression deserves treatment. Will depression treatment help? It's hard to predict which treatments will work best for someone with depression. How well a specific treatment works also depends on the type of depression a person is experiencing. It's important to work closely with your care provider and/or mental health care professional, such as a psychiatrist, especially if you take medications, as you are exploring different treatment options. Psychotherapy is one of the first-line options used to treat depression. While there are many types of psychotherapy available, cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, is a frequently used and effective option. It addresses the negative thoughts that contribute to depression and can help you see your thoughts might be contributing to your symptoms. Online therapy options are also available. I gave some possible online sites that are good for this. They can provide a convenient and sometimes more affordable way to access treatment for depression. Such programs can also be a useful supplement to in-person therapy, medications, and other treatment tools. Medications. Antidepressant medications such as Prozac, which is fluoxetine, and Zoloft, which is sertraline, are commonly prescribed for depression. Medications are often used in combination with psychotherapy. For many people, using therapy and antidepressants together can effectively treat depression. However, these interventions alone may not adequately address symptoms for every person that has depression. So there's other treatment options. In these cases, other types of treatments such as electroconvulsive therapy, ECT, can be used. ECT involves the brief application of an electrical pulse to the scalp in order to produce a seizure. Research has shown that the brain's response to such stimulation can be rapid, and ECT may be able to treat symptoms that are resistant to medication and therapy. Newer depression treatments include various types of brain stimulus therapy, such as vagus nerve stimulation, VNS, and transcranial magnetic stimulation, TMS. These treatments may be recommended for someone whose symptoms haven't responded to medication or therapy. While it can be exhausting, frustrating, time-consuming, and in some cases costly to try different methods of treating depression, it's important to work to find the option that will be the most effective for you. Depression and its treatment is a complex process that's not one size fits all. And let me also remind you that I did a podcast on nutrition for anxiety, stress, and depression, and we talked about different types of new developments in the scientific world in terms of supplements and herbal supplements that can affect the brain, help connect the neurons of the brain, and affect the PP2A of the brain. So you might want to go back to that one. Understanding a loved one's depression is next. If someone you care about is dealing with depression, you might not be sure how to support them. If your attempts to help are rejected or don't seem to do any good, you may become frustrated and impatient. If you feel tempted to tell someone who is depressed to try harder or just snap out of it, it may be a sign that you are overwhelmed or experiencing caregiver burnout. If this happens, it's important that you pause and take time to reflect on your own feelings. You won't be able to help someone else until you've taken care of your own emotional needs. When you're speaking to your loved one with depression, keep in mind if it seems like your conversations are full of miscommunication, although you may want to remind them of all the good things in life or point out that it could be worse, platitudes such as these aren't usually helpful for a person with depression to hear. And lastly, avoid comparing feelings. Comparing their pain to someone else's or your own may be your way of trying to give your loved ones some perspective, but it may come across as though you are minimizing their experience. If the person is already struggling to understand why they are depressed, comments like this can reinforce feelings of guilt. Someone you care about is depressed, especially if they're struggling with having no reason for it. One of the most important things you can do for them is to be a compassionate and active listener. This doesn't mean you should put your emotional needs second or withhold your own feelings. Keeping the lines of communication open helps the person you care for feel safe to discuss what they are going through and express the desire for help when they are ready. If you are worried about them or maintaining a lifeline can reassure you of your safety and well-being. Maintaining a lifeline can do that. So this is part of it. And now I want to go back to the article that we were talking about, the 10 tips, and say it's especially important to validate your partner's feelings and experiences, and this very real and biologically based illness is something that shouldn't be ignored. Know that just like any other illness, it can be treated. Suicide is also a very real risk of depression, so it's important to keep your loved one's environment safe, such as removing any alcohol, drugs, or guns, and to take it seriously if your loved one is feeling suicidal. And then practice self-care. It can be very stressful coping with another person's depression. It's okay to take some time out for yourself. Self-care is not selfish. In fact, you will both be better off if you carve out time to safeguard your mind, body, and spirit with habits like eating a healthy diet, exercising, getting enough sleep, participating in hobbies and activities you enjoy, praying or meditating, practicing relaxation strategies, spending time in nature, and staying socially connected. Caring for yourself might also mean knowing when it's time to say goodbye. Certainly, this decision should be weighed carefully and ideally discussed with a mental health professional. But if your or your children's emotional or physical well-being or safety is at risk, you may need to walk away. Okay. Now, there are some other things that I wanted to cover. Now, let's see. Going to seek therapy is the next. When someone you care about is depressed, it's okay for you to feel frustrated, angry, and upset. It is very important, however, that you don't allow these feelings to fester and grow. Therapists, counselors, and support groups are not only for people with depression. Seeking professional help for yourself can help you feel supported, vent your frustrations, and make you more aware of your own emotional needs. Therapy can also provide answers to the questions you have about coping with depression of a loved one. Even if you don't go the mental health professional route, it's important to lean on your support network during this difficult time. So we talked about some of the online help, and then this list, I'm sure there are lists online of local practitioners who you can go to for therapy in person. Be there for your partner. One of the most important things you can do for someone who's depressed is simply to be there for them and verbalize your support. Hold them close or just listen while they share their feelings. Offer to help them with making appointments or doing some of the daily chores that they are struggling to keep up. Let them know that you are there for them in whatever way they need while they make their recovery. Don't take your partner's depression personally. Depression can make people behave in ways that they normally wouldn't when they are feeling well. They may become angry, irritable, or withdrawn. They may not be interested in going out or doing things with you like they used to. Your spouse or significant other may lose interest in sex. These things are not personal, and they don't mean that your partner no longer cares for or about you. They are symptoms of the illness that requires treatment. Help out with chores. Just like a person who has any other illness, they may simply not feel well enough to take care of paying bills or cleaning the house. And just like with any illness, you may have to temporarily take over some of the daily chores until they feel well enough to do them again. Encourage your partner to seek treatment. Treatment is vitally important to recovery from depression. You can help your loved ones by helping them keep up with taking their medication and remembering appointments. You can also help them by reassuring them that asking for help is not a sign of weakness or something to be ashamed of. You can offer hope. Offer your partner hope by reminding them of their reasons to keep living, whatever they may be. Perhaps it's the children or beloved pet who needs them, or their faith. These reasons, which will be unique to each individual, can help them hold on a bit longer until the pain subsides. And lastly, demonstrate your love. Depression can make a person feel like a burden and unworthy of love and support. Proactively counteract those things by telling and showing your partner that you love them. Let them know that you understand that depression is affecting their thoughts, feelings, and behavior, and that you still love them. Reassure them that you are here to support them. So we've covered a lot of areas that you might not have known before. Hopefully, you will have taken away a little more knowledge how to help a loved one or a friend or a family member that needs understanding and your patience and your love in their road to recovery from this mental illness called depression, which is not their fault. And you can be there to support them and give them your caring, your love, and your understanding. It's a serious thing, but they can get over it. So with that thought, I can only urge you all to take each day, one day at a time. Each day, one step at a time. And try to start each day with a smile. Try to start each day with hope that there is something to be happy for. If you do that, whatever you're going through, your day can be lighter and hopefully easier. Until next time, friends, listeners, I say goodbye.